Welcome back on the program. Good morning, Abuja. Like I told you, when we come back from that break, we'll be meeting our first guest. And yes, he's here in the studio with us. We have Mr. Lois Akwaeze in the studio. You're welcome on the program, sir.
Thank you, sir. It's a pleasure.
Mr. Lois is a publisher. I know you know what a publisher means. A publisher is one who runs a publishing company and publishes books. And we have some of his works here with us in the studio, two very interesting and beautiful novels which his publishing company has been able to put together so that we can have some literal materials to enjoy and learn from. And so we are meeting him so that we could delve into the world of publishing this morning. Mr. Lois Akwaeze is also the co-founder of the Ifeadigo Publishing Company Limited. You're welcome once more.
Thank you, sir. My pleasure.
So, publishing. This morning particularly, we are looking at self-publishing. We all know what publishing means in general terms, but the self added to it now makes it a bit complicated. What is self-publishing, and how does this differ from the traditional publishing?
All right. Thank you for having me. Okay. Publishing simply means making a content public, available for sale or for free. Just making a content public. It could be written content, it could even be music, it could even be software, making it public. Now, traditional publishing is different from self-publishing. Self-publishing means you yourself having the rights, having the full copyright to your work, to your material, being in charge of it, taking the full decision about it, and of course, financing the bills. And at the end of the day, you get all the returns yourself. So if it's in book publishing now, self-publishing in book terms simply means you're working with a self-publishing firm that guides you through that process of you releasing your book, still retaining your full copyright, having the full copyright to your book, the movie rights to your book, all the rights to your book is still yours, okay? And at the end of the day, you get all the profit, all the returns from the work. And whatever awards or whatever impact the book makes, it still comes back to you. It has nothing to do with the person that published it for you. Okay. Because you maintain that right. That is what self-publishing means.
Okay. Normally when we talk about publishing, we get to see like a finance deal, like something that has to do with a musical artist getting a contract with his label or things like that. So what you're telling us now is that the difference between a self-publisher and a general publisher is that he bears the whole cost, and of course takes the finance, takes the decisions about the returns,
it. Yes.
Okay. Now let's examine as a publisher, you now, which would you go for, being a self-publisher or taking advantage of an established publishing company to do the work for you?
All right. So before now, traditional publishers have been the gatekeeper of the publishing industry, just like record labels have been the gatekeepers of the music industry. So because of that, a lot of beautiful works couldn't get out there because they have a very rigorous process of selecting what they choose to publish or not. And sometimes you don't even get to them because you need to have a literary agent, you need to have this, have that, and at the end of the day, they may just stifle your work. So what it entails is now publishing has gone beyond just using a traditional firm to get your work out. Just like in the music industry, you can put out your work without having a record label now because of social media. So personally for me, that impact the traditional publishing firms used to have before, it has reduced to the point that if you know what you're doing, as a self-publisher, you can still hit that level of influence, hit that level of success. There are books that have hit levels of success. This book called by E.L. James, 50 Shades of Grey.
Yes.
It was a self-published book. She did her book herself, published on Amazon. Amazon is a self-publishing platform. And she made all the money, got all the awards as a self-publisher because she couldn't get a traditional publishing deal. Nobody wanted to take that work. And then she had to put it out herself, and it still made impact. So look at some of these books. You say these books have gone far and beyond, and the author self-published it. So we live in an age where you have access to the whole world. The world is a global village now. because of social media. So some authors have built their brands online. Readers buy their works whatever platform they put out their works. Readers get to buy their works, irrespective of if they publish traditionally or not.
Okay. You mentioned the impact of social media in the publishing world, especially as it has to do with aiding the self-publisher to be able to send his work out there. How impactful is this if you're going to rate it? What's the level of impact? Because the normal publishing house have how would they say, a network.
Yes.
You understand, there's a network, there's an established, once your book is published on that platform, you're sure that, okay, you're going to have maybe a certain amount of sales at least.
Yes.
Now, social media is crashing those numbers.
Definitely.
Yes. What's the impact? What do you think?
Now, what makes most people go for traditional publishing is not just because they don't have money. They want a process where they are assured of sales. They want to be sure that I'm going to sell these numbers, I'm going to sell these numbers. And they don't want to invest in this without knowing that it will yield return. So now with self-publishing, we have come to a point where we do POD, print on demand. Amazon can print as low as 1 book if someone makes the order for it. In Nigeria here, we can also print as low as 1 book. If this author calls me tomorrow and says, Louis, I need 2 of my books, we'll print and deliver to them. So we have cut the cost. Now, coming to social media, we have authors that have built followership of close to 50,000, 100,000. Particularly, we have a platform called Prolific Fiction Writers Community on Facebook with over 14,000 active writers. So social media has leveled the ground. That influence that traditional publishers used to have before, where they have a network of bookstores, young readers now, in this digital era, they read more on their devices. They interact more with their smartphones, their tablet. So these books, in as much as we printed them, where these people have actually made most of their sales is online. So you go on Amazon, you see these books. You go on BAM Books, you see these books. You go on all digital publishing platforms in the world, you see these books. So these books has audience across the world. The translations are the easiest. If you want to translate it to Spanish, you want to translate to French, all these things, you are doing it yourself. Because we live in the world of digital publishing now, and AI is, of course, there. So the impact cannot even be measured like, okay, say, oh, this is the limit. There is no limit anymore. Like I said earlier, the world is a global village now. I can sit here and reach someone in the US. I've sold books in Canada. I've not been to Canada before. I've sold books in Spain. I've not been to Spain before. You know, this lady, the other girl now, that in Broad Daylight, she's the first author to write a psychological thriller in Nigeria. And if she was looking for a traditional publishing deal, she wouldn't get it in this country because there are no strong publishing firms that will grant her that deal. So she came to us, we told her, okay, let's guide you to put this book out. And this book is already making massive waves around the world.
Okay. When we talk about publishing, another factor to look at is promoting the books.
Yes.
Promoting the books, getting people to know about the books in order to drive sales. We know the traditional media traditional publishing firms have their ways
of doing that.
Yes. Now, a self-publisher, who gets to promote his book?
Okay, even the traditional publishers now, it's not like then that they just take all the promotions away from the author, because traditional publishers, they have a lot of book deals they signed with. It's like a music label managing artists. Okay. So they have a lot of artists they are pushing out at the same time. The same thing with traditional publishers. They have all these books. They have all these books they are pushing out at the same time. So they will not give you that singular promotion, promoting only you know. So most times the author has to come in. The readers want to connect with the authors. The readers want to connect with the authors. What we do for people as a self-publishing firm is we draft a template for you. There are 3 phases of book promotion. The first one is the pre-launch. Before you launch it, what are the things you need to do? Okay, if you understand these things and you do them, you are going to make massive sales. Then after pre-launch, you have the launch phase. The launch phase is the actual book release. So during the book release, what campaigns do you run? And then we have the post-launch. After you have released your book, there's this book called Atomic Habits. You know, this guy has been promoting this book 1 year before he published it, After publishing it, he has been promoting it ever since daily. Authors are too relaxed, thinking that because they signed a book deal with a company, a traditional firm, that the traditional firm will just do everything promotion for them. They can only push it to a point, and you know it's a royalty deal, and you don't have any decision on that book. You might submit a book title, the traditional firm will say, no, we don't like this title, let's change it. You don't have any say. You don't have any right to that book. The publisher retains the right because they are paying you royalty.
Okay.
You understand?
Yes. So now let's look at your company.
All right. Thank you, sir. Myself and my co-founder, Mr. Stanley Mezlike, we are writers apart from being publishers. I did my first book, 211. Just out of secondary school, I published. I didn't have anyone to guide me. There's no person to tell me this is what to do, this is what not to do. You know, I was just out there trying to put my work out. The same thing with my co-founder. You know, along the line, a lot of writers were coming to us. Oh, Mr. Lewis, I need to do this. Mr. Lewis, Mr. Stanley, I want to do this. We thought about it and we said, all the barriers in the publishing industry, we want to break those barriers. The first barrier is, without a traditional deal, you can't get published. We broke that barrier. Now, without a traditional deal, you can get published. The second barrier is self-publishers cannot print low quantity of copies. They print from 500 copies and above so that they can make profit. We print as low as 1 copy. We started print on demand in Nigeria. We broke that barrier. The third barrier, publishers don't push their authors. We broke that barrier. We do author interviews with our authors. We promote our authors. We run campaigns for our authors. We broke that barrier. So we looked at everything going wrong with the publishing industry in the country. And we said, let's come in and do things differently. Let's come in and meet these people at the grassroots. If you contact Ifeadigo Publishing Company, you speak to me direct. There is no bureaucracy. There is no speak to this person, speak to this person. Immediately you get to me, or immediately you get to my co-founder, and we get to work. Look at our book covers. We look at the standard of the book covers in the country. We saw that people are just putting in images they don't understand how to design. We got the best design team. We work with American designers. We work with global standard. The quality of our book, some authors will come to us and say, no, can you reduce your quality for me? You say, no, this book is 80 grams. The white copy, the cream copies. We don't print lower than that quality. We try to keep it that standard where this book can go anywhere. If you're flying and you have this book, people will want to say, who wrote this book? How did you get this? We try to maintain that global standard without adding any extra cost. You get it for less, even what you would have paid to get it any other place in the world. So we brought it down to the lowest level, and we've worked with a whole lot of authors, even student authors, people that never knew they could actually push their book out there. Today they are so happy that, okay, I've published.
Well, our conversation has been on publishing with particular focus on self-publishing, and of course our guest has been Mr. Lois Akwaeze, the co-founder Ifeadigo Publishing Company Limited. It's been a pleasure speaking with you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. The pleasure is mine.
We'll continue our conversation when we come back on the program Good Morning Abuja, as we have other interviews lined up for you. Please stay with us. Don't go anywhere.